last but not least, JT Daniels. You mentioned Keaton Slovis, and he had a huge year at quarterback, but Daniels didn't transfer. So somebody told him something that there's going to be a competition, at least for this job. Do you think he can win it, or do you think he ends up – one of them is going to end up leaving, I have to imagine. But do you think he can win the job?
No, I think he can. Slovis put up great numbers last year, and he was very good for a freshman. I mean, really played above and beyond. As a three-star kid, and didn't get a ton of attention. Whereas JT Daniels was a five-star, accelerated his graduation. You remember, he's still very, very young, and he stayed. And there's a reason he stayed, and that's to come back and prove that he's a quarterback at USC. So we'll see how he bounces back from injury, but that's going to be good for both of them, at least for a year. They're going to push each other, and then the winner will stay, and then the loser will move on to the transfer portal. But I really don't want people to forget about JT Daniels and just say, oh, well, he's done. This kid has so much talent and throws one of the best deep balls you're going to see. Obviously, teammates in high school with Amon-Ra St. Brown, they have a tremendous connection there as well. So I just don't think that USC quarterback situation is anything but open.
Okay, so here's what I want to ask you about. For years, the air raid offense put up these huge numbers at Texas Tech or Washington State. And for the most part, the quarterbacks, we were like, oh, those numbers are garbage. Whoever, Hawaii, Colt Brennan or whoever, we didn't really take them seriously until
Graham Harrell,
yeah. Until Mahomes became like amazing. And we said, when we blew off Mahomes because he put up these giant numbers in an offense, or even Gardner Minshew.
Right.
So every one of the quarterbacks that's ever played in this offense at the big schools under the gurus, either Mike Leach or Cliff Kingsbury, whoever, has put up huge numbers. So Slovis steps in and puts up huge numbers, and he had probably 3 or 4, at least, NFL wide receivers. Do you think if Daniels was healthy in the offense, he would have put up comparable numbers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, comparable or maybe even better, and again, the weapons are there. That's why every time I keep thinking about USC, I'm like, everybody's writing them off and they're going to suck and Clay Helton's going to be fired. But there's so much talent on that football team that they have a chance to be really good. And I'm talking like 10-2 really good. And I'm talking Pac-12 champion really good. So, I think JT would have put up the same numbers. They're different quarterbacks. They do things, as far as their specialties, a little bit different, but they're also extremely accurate quarterbacks, and they've got dynamic wide receivers. So, whoever wins the job is going to put up big numbers, and I think JT would have done that. Now, I'm not saying JT is going to win the job, but people have forgotten about him. You cannot forget about him. Do not. Slovis get hurt. Let's say Slovis wins the job, gets hurt. JT Daniels is probably the best backup quarterback in college football.
Yeah, one thing about Slovis, I watch a lot of the Pac-12, as you know. He can kind of, when he's on, but when he's off, he can make a few bad mistakes. Obviously, he was a true freshman, but I think that's something to monitor too, because, he had some of that, almost like Justin Herbert had for Oregon, where all of a sudden he gets in a rut and the next thing you know, he's throwing 2 or 3 picks or whatever. So
yep.
Put that under your cap.